Instead, I say, Mr. President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
What happens when a U.S. president threatens to send troops into a major American city and the governor fires back, "Do not come to Chicago"? Is this law and order or the start of something far more dangerous? A test of power that could rewrite America's future. Illinois and Washington are colliding in a showdown that's bigger than crime, bigger than politics. It's about who really controls America's cities, the people who live there or the president in Washington. But what really started this? Let's find out. The matter could not be clearer. A sitting president talks of sending troops into one of America's biggest cities, and the state's governor replies, "Do not come to Chicago." That's not a polite disagreement, it's open defiance. J.B. Pritzker didn't just criticize, he drew a red line, calling the plan unconstitutional, unnecessary, and un-American. Let's hear what J.B. Pritzker has to say.
To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab. Look at the people assembled before you today, behind me. This is a full cross-section of Chicago's leaders from the business world, the faith community, law enforcement, education, community organizations, and more. We sometimes disagree on how to effectively solve the many challenges that our state and our city face on a daily basis. But today we are standing here united, in public, in front of the cameras, unafraid to tell the president that his proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, "Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city?" Instead, I say, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago."
So what's unfolding here isn't about personal insults or partisan bickering. It's about the authority to control a city's streets. A president flexing federal muscle on one side, a governor defending state sovereignty on the other.
Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago, nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city. Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks while taking their kids to school. Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago.
J.B. Pritzker clearly answered the question, does Chicago really need Trump's help? The whole city says no. Lisa Thoreau, the executive director of Strategies for Youth, has something to say about it.
We're all concerned that this will lead to someone with a very powerful gun overreacting to a youth and a youth getting hurt. When we've taken those very strict, hard on crime, tough on crime approaches, we see recidivism go up.
The city also argues the pictures painted by the White House, a city in chaos, crying out for federal troops, is far from reality. On the other hand, Donald Trump's picture of Chicago is dark and chaotic. He portrays the city as a place of endless violence, a mess that local officials can't fix. That imagery is powerful for his base because it frames him as the man who will bring order where others have failed.
Statement that next should be Chicago, because as you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him, freedom, freedom. He's a dictator, he's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense. We want to go from here to other places, but I was telling some of the people that in a certain way, you really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians like a guy like Pritzker. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster. Gavin Newsom's a disaster.
He expects a warm welcome, and if he doesn't get it, he'll take a cheap shot at J.B. Pritzker, sneering that the governor ought to hit the gym. And he also has something to say about the mayor.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this, and it won't even be tough.
So, Chicago's mayor, Brandon Johnson, declared the city will remain firm against federal overreach. He insisted Chicagoans are already making progress through local solutions and will not allow outside forces to undermine that.
Here's what we're doing in Chicago. The fact of the matter is violent crime is actually down in Chicago. We've reduced homicides by almost 32%. Shootings and shooting victims, we've reduced that by nearly 40%. Robberies are down 35%. There is certainly more work to be done, but we are moving towards building the safest, most affordable big city in America. And what the Trump administration is attempting to do is to roll back the hands of time and take us to a time period in which we know from the civil rights era where Dr. King described this type of act as one of the three evils. The militarization of our society is not who we are as a country. And I'm going to remain firm and vigilant to make sure that we're actually doing the work that works. And what we have seen in Chicago, when we invest in people, we drive violence down, whether it's investing in youth employment, investing in affordable homes, and quite frankly, investing in our Detectives Bureau, where we have revamped our entire detectives division to be able to solve violent crime. And we have a clearance rate of almost 77, 76%. And so we're solving crime, we're reducing crime, we're investing in people, and that's what's working for the people of Chicago.
He, as well as J.B. Pritzker, mentioned Chicago's crime statistics don't match that picture. Murders are down, shootings are down, carjackings are down. Yet Trump's narrative isn't about numbers, it's about optics. By threatening to send troops, he positions himself as the savior of a city supposedly abandoned by its leaders. It's a political move dressed up as law enforcement.
Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there?
The point here is about control. Who decides how Chicago polices itself? Local leaders argue that federal troops aren't needed, and worse, could escalate tensions. But Trump seems to be worried about safety. This takes us toward a good point raised by J.B. Pritzker. If Trump really wants to see safety in Chicago, why did he slash the very programs that built it? His administration cut hundreds of millions from gun violence prevention grants, domestic abuse services, and community outreach initiatives, the same programs local leaders say are making a difference. Instead of funding counselors, shelters, and neighborhood peace efforts, Trump talks about troops and military crackdowns.
If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois for violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million in law enforcement grants to Illinois, direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. Cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police.
It raises a glaring contradiction. If safety is the goal, why dismantle the tools that create it? For Chicago, the mess feels less about protection and more about politics dressed up as law and order. And Chicago is standing united against Trump's threat of federal troop deployment. From city hall to neighborhood groups, leaders and residents alike say they don't need soldiers patrolling their streets. Instead, they want investment in schools, jobs, and community programs. The message is clear. Chicago speaks with one voice: local solutions over outside force.
Yeah, well, again, look, the 10th Amendment is actually quite clear where states reserve rights. And that's something that's an important thing to note. And we will, take up legal action if necessary. Whether it's my Department of Law or working with the governor, we're also in communications with our Cook County Board President. We're all aligned in the city of Chicago. In fact, this is a time for all of us to come together in this moment. And there are some political differences certainly that we do have in Chicago, but I think in this regard, we're all very clear that the Trump administration is clearly in violation of the Constitution. And it's pretty straightforward for us. You either support the Constitution or you do not. Those are the only two positions that you can take. And again, whether it's legal actions, as well as the community as a whole coming together to push back in a very dramatic way against this administration. Because, look, as I said before, we're doing the work here in Chicago, and you mentioned other cities around America, and whether it's, what Brandon Scott is doing, Randall Woodfin is doing in Birmingham, Justin Bibb in Cleveland, my other counterpart, Mayor Johnson in Milwaukee, Karen Bass, Barbara Lee. I mean, these are all strong leaders across this country that have made critical investments in affordable housing, youth employment, mental and behavioral health care services. We are investing in people and quite frankly, the most vulnerable people. What this president is doing, he's declared a war on poor people. I remember when we had presidents that declared war on poverty. That's the opposite from this administration. Picking on homeless people, picking on the most vulnerable. That is not what the people of Chicago are going to stand for. And so we'll use all means necessary to us to ensure that we protect the Constitution and we protect this beloved city.
So Chicago's message to Washington is unmistakable. We will decide our future, not you. This isn't just about one city. It's about the balance of power in America. Do presidents get to impose their will on local communities, or do states hold the line on sovereignty? As this standoff unfolds, Chicago stands firm, united, and defiant. And the answer to that question may reshape how every city in America is governed. Should a president have the powers to send troops into a city without consent? Is Trump really making Chicago safer or just making politics louder? Let us know in the comment section. Who should decide a city's future? Washington or the people living there?